Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he is prepared to negotiate a deal directly with Russian President Vladimir Putin to end this war. So how much is Zelensky willing to compromise for peace? Let's welcome in now Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. Senator Paul, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we got the report from Sarah there. We hear about trouble with the Russian military. We also hear President Biden warning that Vladimir Putin is considering using chemical weapons. Do you believe this to be true? And if so, what can be done to prevent it?
You know, I don't have any specific or inside information as to what weapons will be used. I think sometimes too much attention, though, is paid to what type of weapon. They're all deadly. Bombs kill hundreds of people at a time as well. So do guns, so do chemical weapons. I think that none of us want to see the introduction of chemical weapons into there, but I have no specific information that that is being done or will be done.
You know, I also wanted to ask you about a cyber attack, and the reason why I asked this is you kind of alluded to this is because we watch Vladimir Putin escalate his attacks on a daily basis while the Biden administration sits back and says, well, we don't want to escalate this, but it's escalating every single day.
You know, let's hope that we're adequately prepared. We've had cyber attacks by hackers and other foreign countries for some time now, and we respond very quickly to that. So let's hope that we are adequately prepared and that we have hardened our resistance to cyber attacks. I don't think any system can be perfect, but I think we've done a great deal of protection of our system over the last few years. And so I'm hopeful that we will be able to protect ourselves against any cyber attacks.
You know, another reason why I was looking forward to asking these questions is because no one would consider you a warmonger, and that's a term that's kind of been thrown around as people have advocated for no-fly zones and the like. You know, we see women and children dying in Ukraine, and a lot of us are wondering why does this continue to happen? Why has there not been this response? Because it seems like, you know, there would be a pretty definitive way to stop Vladimir Putin. You know, a lot of us are getting impatient, of course. What do you say to that?
I would say that, you know, it's very easy to have a great deal of sympathy. I have a great deal of sympathy for those who fight to defend their homeland, to defend their land against an invasion from a neighboring country. But the thing is that the idea of war, or the idea of the U.S. being directly involved in the war, the Constitution requires that it be debated in Congress. The president doesn't have the power to do or enter us into a war, so it would have to be debated in Congress. Also, there is that little thing of nuclear war. We've been avoiding a direct military confrontation with Russia over 70 years with the hopes of avoiding a nuclear war. So these are not small items and things that should be very, very carefully considered. In each of the resolutions condemning the invasion that I've allowed to move forward, I've insisted that they put as provisions in those resolutions that nothing is to be construed as being an authorization of use of force within Ukraine or an authorization of introduction of troops. It's very easy to have sympathy and to have, you know, a great deal of regard for the fight that the Ukrainians are putting forward. But if people want to do more than that, they are welcome to volunteer, and people are welcome to fly over there and fight in the war if they wish. But the thing is bad things are happening around the world all the time. You know, there were bad things that happened in Rwanda. There are bad things that have happened in North Korea. There are bad things happening currently in China. And not every one of them do we militarily send troops into and get involved. And so that debate to get involved in a war has to be a very, very serious discussion without intemperate language and with the full realization of what war means.
Yeah, because we've seen, you know, over the last couple of decades, how easy it is to get into wars, how difficult it is to get out of them. You know, one more question on Ukraine before we move on to the Supreme Court here is President Zelensky is getting a lot of criticism for basically nationalizing Ukrainian television. His critics say this is something that Vladimir Putin would do. In fact, he has done this. But you could also say that Abraham Lincoln suspended the writ of habeas corpus during the Civil War. And in the long run, sometimes the ends do justify the means. But what do you think about this?
I don't think the ends justify the means with regards to getting rid of due process, getting rid of the rule of law, and closing down media stations. In a free society, you can tolerate speech, whether it's harmful, hateful, or even speech for the other side. We tolerate that in a free society. Yes, Lincoln did suspend the right of habeas corpus. It's actually in our Constitution under an insurrection. But there are many people who wish he hadn't, and many people who look back historically and say it was a bad time in our history to do that. And it isn't representative of who we are. And so, no, I object greatly. We retweeted an article by the constitutional lawyer Jonathan Turley yesterday that was critical of basically him shutting down the television stations. And if he wants to continue to excite the freedom-loving people of our country, I think he needs to understand that authoritarian measures such as shutting down the press are not exciting some of us.
All right, let's get to the Supreme Court confirmation hearings of Judge Jackson. She's up there facing questions right now. And one of the things that she's done today is defend her record as a federal judge and pushing back on the claims that she's given light sentences to child pornographers. Here she is responding to that.
As a mother and a judge who has had to deal with these cases, I was thinking that nothing could be further from the truth.
Now, she's had a lot of good answers today. I think she's performing very well, and she's obviously well prepared and qualified. But I wanted to get your response specifically to that question and answer portion of this.
You know, the one thing that I have pledged from the very beginning on this is that we will treat her with respect. We will not promote false accusations as they did to Justice Kavanaugh. And I think it was absolutely deplorable, and the American public should not soon forget what horrible, horrible people the Democrat senators were to falsely accuse him of rape in front of his wife and children, and to say such disgusting things without anyone supporting this. These were accusations made by individuals with grudges, with political axes to grind, and it was awful what they did to him. And I think what you'll see is people on our side will question Judge Brown Jackson on her rulings, on her judicial philosophy. But I think what you'll see from our side is a stark contrast to what the despicable behavior you saw the Democrats and what they did to Judge Kavanaugh. So how people come down on this and how I come down will be based on our continued evaluation of her record. I did oppose her to be an appellate judge because I disagreed with large portions of her judicial philosophy. But we're still keeping an open mind. We will watch the hearings unfold. But I promise you this, we will not be rude, and we will not be inflammatory, and we will not attack her in a personal way. The Democrats attacked Justice Kavanaugh.
Now, yes, your colleague John Cornyn questioning her now. I did hear some comments or questions about her collegiate experience, but nothing about high school or calendars or anything like that so far. So I think, you know, we're in pretty good shape. Great to see you, Senator Paul. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.